You've probably seen the Louvre in movies. Glass Pyramid, Paris skyline, people crowding around the Mona Lisa. It's one of those places that feels too iconic to touch. But here's a little secret. The Louvre hasn't always been as untouchable as it looks. Over the last few centuries, thieves, scammers, and even protesters have all tried to take a piece of it. And some of them actually did. So, today we're asking a simple question. Why does the world's most famous museum keep getting robbed? And what do those robberies tell us about us, not just them? Let's start with the most recent one, because this one sounds like a movie. On the morning of October 19, 2025, guards discovered shattered glass in the Gallery of Royal Jewels. The alarms hadn't gone off. Inside the display case had been part of France's crown jewels, including pieces once worn by Empress Eugénie, the wife of Napoleon III. Gone. It wasn't an amateur job. Investigators think the thieves knew the Louvre's layout, maybe even worked there before. A few pieces were found later in a nearby alley, damaged and tossed aside, almost as if the thieves panicked or got interrupted. But many jewels disappeared completely. French media called it an attack on national identity. And honestly, it felt like one. These weren't just expensive gemstones, they were symbols of France itself. The 2025 robbery reminded everyone that even the most secure museum in the world isn't invincible. And it also brought back memories of earlier, crazier thefts. Let's rewind to the early 1900s, 1911 to be exact. The Mona Lisa wasn't yet the superstar she is today. Sure, people admired her, but she wasn't that famous. Then one morning, she was gone. An Italian handyman named Vincenzo Peruggia, who had once worked at the Louvre, stayed hidden inside a storage closet overnight. When the museum opened, he quietly removed the painting from its frame, tucked it under his coat, and walked out the front door. That's it. No lasers, no alarms, no Mission Impossible soundtrack, just one guy and a door. For 2 years, no one knew where she was. Postcards, fake copies, conspiracy theories. The world went wild. Then, in 1913, Peruggia tried to sell the painting to a gallery in Florence. He said he only wanted to return it to Italy. He was caught. The Mona Lisa was recovered, and ironically, that theft is what made her a global celebrity. So the Mona Lisa didn't just survive a robbery, she used it for PR jump forward to the 1970s, the era of flared jeans and terrible museum security. In 1971, a painting by Gustave Courbet called The Wave Was Stolen. It's a moody seascape, and to this day, no one knows where it is. Seriously, half a century later, still missing. Then, in 1976, another thief walked off with King Charles Giggs's diamond-encrusted sword. Imagine stealing a royal sword from a museum that sits next to the French Ministry of Culture. That takes either genius or pure chaos. Both thefts exposed how outdated the Louvre's security was. Remember, this was before digital cameras and motion sensors. Sometimes guards literally wrote reports on paper that no one read until the next day. So by the time someone noticed something missing, it had already been missing for hours or days. The good news? Those incidents finally forced the Louvre to modernize. The bad news? It still wasn't enough. Fast forward to 1983. Somewhere in the Renaissance wing, 2 full suits of armor simply vanished. No broken locks, no forced doors. They were just gone. Police had nothing for decades, until 2021, when the armor resurfaced during an unrelated investigation into a private collection. The collector claimed he had no idea they came from the Louvre. Sure. After nearly 40 years, the museum got them back. Dented but intact, living proof that time can solve crimes even when the police can't. Now let's talk about a time when almost everything was at risk. World War II. When Nazi forces occupied France, the Louvre's staff did something extraordinary. They secretly evacuated thousands of artworks, paintings, sculptures, ancient relics, all packed into trucks and scattered across the countryside, hidden in chateaus and barns. They saved most of it, but not all. Some pieces were still stolen by Nazi officers, added to Hitler's private art project. Many were recovered after the war, but others just vanished. Every so often, a missing piece pops up in a private estate sale somewhere in Europe. And historians realize this painting has been missing since 1941. The war didn't just threaten art, it changed how museums think about protecting it. After that, security became part of culture itself. If the 1911 theft made the Mona Lisa famous, modern protests made her bulletproof, literally. She now sits behind thick glass that can stop bullets, acid, and apparently, dessert. In 2009, a woman threw a teacup at her. In 2022, a climate protester smeared cake across the glass. In 2024, someone threw soup. Every time, the Mona Lisa stayed perfectly safe. And every time, the videos went viral. Here's the irony. Most of those protests weren't about art. They were about climate change, capitalism, or politics. But the protesters chose the Mona Lisa because she's a guaranteed headline. That's how powerful art has become. It's not just culture, it's media. So why do people keep trying to steal from the Louvre? Money is the obvious answer, but it's not the full story. You can't just sell the Mona Lisa on eBay. Even lesser-known works are too recognizable to fence easily. What many thieves actually want is fame. To be the person who outsmarted the greatest museum in the world, even for a day. Art crime isn't just about profit, it's about ego. And that ego, strangely enough, is the same force that built the museum in the first place. Human obsession. The Louvre is basically a mirror reflecting everything we value: beauty, history, power, identity. So when someone tries to take from it, they're really chasing those same things. Today, the Louvre is a fortress. AI-assisted cameras scan every visitor. Infrared sensors monitor temperature and motion. Even the floor vibrations are measured, but the museum still wants to feel open and human. That's the tricky part. Protecting art without turning the experience into airport security. So the Louvre balances accessibility and protection like a tightrope walker over a sea of tourists with smartphones, and sometimes it still slips. That's not failure. That's proof that the Louvre isn't just a building. It's alive, constantly adapting to new threats and new audiences. Every Louvre robbery tells a small story about a big theme. The 1911 theft made art global. The 1970s heists forced museums to modernize. The 2025 robbery reminded us that even perfection cracks under pressure. And the modern protests? They show that art isn't locked in the past. It's still part of the world's conversation. Think about it. A museum built in the 12th century is still making headlines in the 21st. That's not bad for a place full of old paint and stone. The Louvre keeps surviving. Not because it's perfect, but because we keep caring. Every attempt to steal from it just proves how much it matters. So next time you see the glass pyramid glittering in the Paris sun, remember, it's not just protecting art, it's protecting stories. Stories of genius and greed, of ambition and curiosity. And maybe that's why people can't resist it. Because behind every masterpiece is the same question that drives every thief, every artist, and maybe even every visitor. What if I could hold that beauty just for myself? That's the strange magic of the Louvre. It invites us to look, but never to touch. And somehow, that's exactly what keeps us coming back. This is Trend Curious. Stay curious about what's happening now.